So how do we know all this about mummification if the bodies were never meant to be disturbed? Fair question. Well, it turns out in their unending quest to expand the empires, Europeans came across Egypt, saw the Great Pyramids, and they were like, ooh, I call dibs. You know, that one's mine. No touchy. Paul, no, mine. At first, these excursions were said to be educational. They were like down there in Egypt just trying to learn, you know? They're like, we're just trying to learn, no big deal. But naturally, people got greedy. They broke into the tombs under the pyramids, cracked open the coffins, but instead of bodies, they saw dollar signs. Europeans started to get a little curious about the world around them. Tons of people were quote unquote exploring faraway countries and sending archaeologists to investigate those cultures. But remember, this is dark history, so words like exploring are usually code for taking whatever the hell they want because they can. Eye roll. And in the late 1500s, that's exactly what these Europeans did when they made a stop on their journey to Egypt. I mean, think about how crazy that must have been for someone from Europe, right? And they're traveling, there's no internet, there's no books, there's nothing. They get to Cairo and they're like, what the fuck? Like, what is this? Seeing pyramids and stuff? Sand? What? Heat? Gigantic pyramids? Breath mints? Eyeliner? I mean, this was mind-blowing, and they were ready to get as much as they could, the Europeans. I want this shit. Think about all the cool stuff they must have found in Egypt: ornate statues, unique clocks, ancient manuscripts with the history of their world, cool-ass weapons they used, and oh yeah, the foundation of math, languages, and different sciences. It was literally a whole new world to the Europeans. I want to sing Aladdin, but it's like, come on, Bailey. It's like every time a whole new world comes up, I go into my Aladdin song and it's like, we get it. A whole new world. I just have to. And not only were they making these grand discoveries, they were also finding some pretty shiny treasures down there. People were buried with their wealth. So all these incredibly valuable discoveries are being made. Everybody wants a piece of it, and they're willing to get a little shady to get a piece of the pie. Talking about bribery, baby. So we don't know exactly how this went down, but come with me on this journey. Let's use our imagination. We're gonna paint a picture. Bob Ross it. One day, an archaeologist was doing his thing, digging shit up, dusting it off, you get it. Then he looks further and sees a giant building made of stones with ancient markings on them. All my buddies have been like finding this crazy shit. Ted said he found a clock. And I can't let Ted be the coolest in the group, you know? Like, I gotta get out there and see what I can find. But he's not familiar with this specific area and pyramid, so he calls for some help. They had already hired a local guide to help on the expedition, but now he needed to ask for a little more help. So he's like, hey man, I'll give you a crisp, clean $20 bill if you show me around that pyramid. And the guide is like, no way, man. Like, you know, no, I'm supposed to protect this pyramid, get lost. And the other guy's like, please, it's for education. Like, please, what about $40? Eventually, the guide caves in and agrees, and when he opens up the heavy stone door, inside is one of the most incredible things anyone has ever laid eyes on. First of all, the space is huge inside. Not only that, it's super tall, wide, and seems to be going on forever. He finds out that this is a place where tons of bodies have been buried for thousands of years. This guy's like, damn, this is some next level shit. So this guy isn't used to it because he's used to like burying bodies underground. Tombs, new concept, a little different. He approaches a coffin and out of his own curiosity opens it up. And ooh, he struck gold because it's a mummy, baby. In addition to finding the mummies themselves, the researchers found out a lot about the mummification process. So as this is happening, the Egyptian language is being translated and people started to pick up on something. They're looking at the mummies, they see this tar, they see the steps, and they have a light bulb moment. Like, wait a second, this looks like bitumen. It smells like bitumen. It must be bitumen. Back in the day, especially in the 16th century, medicine wasn't ideal. It was still very experimental. I mean, they were drilling holes in people's heads for epilepsy. They were doing bloodletting and putting leeches on people. It's just a wild time. And there was one thing that medicine considered the cure-all: bitumen. Doctors would give out bitumen for everything. And I mean everything. If you had a toothache, bitumen. Skin disease, bitumen. Fevers, leprosy, gout, brain aneurysms. Stubbed your big toe, bitumen. And that's just to name a few. It's just fun to say. Bitumen, bitch, you men. Bitumen, bitch, you men. Bitch, you men. So everyone's really wanting this stuff, and it's actually very rare and hard to find. So people are thinking, well, when they go into this tomb, they're like, oh my God, we found bitumen. Like, baby, we're about to make a lot of money. Okay, so they're like, we see the bitumen in this tomb, but how are we going to get it from the mummies and take it back home to ingest it? Because I do have a stomach ache, so I need to take some bitumen right now, but how am I gonna do that? Because it's on this mummy, you know? Okay, so this sounds really creepy and uncomfortable, but look, that's history, right? So these people, they would end up stealing these mummies. They would take them back home, they would unwrap them, and then they would crush the mummy down into powder, and then would ingest it for health benefits. Basically the same reason people drink bone broth today. So they crushed it up and got the bitumen, but they got all the other bits and pieces of the mummy as well. I'm talking the bones, the skin, the muscle, all of it. And yes, all of that was powdered down and people were eating it. So all of this is going on, and this ends up getting the attention of the King of England, who then decides to step in.